The summer heat had settled heavy over the valley, and my farm was thriving. Rows of corn stood tall, my cattle grazed lazily, and my small private pool installed after years of hard work finally gave me the comfort I had dreamed of. That pool wasn't just water in the ground. It was a symbol of freedom, of independence. I had poured every ounce of sweat into this land, carved it out with my own 2 hands. So when a group of homeowners from across the road tried to rope me into their Homeowners Association, I laughed in their faces. That was my first mistake at first. The HOA members came with smiles, clipboards, and pamphlets. A woman with iron straight hair and a blazer in 90-degree weather introduced herself as Karen Whitmore, HOA president. She made it clear she was used to being obeyed. "We'd love for your property to join our association," she said sweetly. "It will increase your land's value, and you'll benefit from our rules of uniformity." I nearly spit out my iced tea. Uniformity? Lady, I run a farm. I've got tractors, chickens, a barn, and mud half the year. Nothing about this land screams suburban uniformity. Her smile faltered. "Well, we expect all properties within the district to be maintained to standard." "There's your problem," I told her. "My farm isn't in your district. I checked before I bought this place." "You've got no claim here." The rest of her committee exchanged glances. They weren't used to hearing no. I figured that was the end of it. I couldn't have been more wrong. 2 weeks later, I received an official-looking letter. The letterhead read, "Oakwood Hills, HOA, Notice of Membership." According to them, my farm had been formally annexed into their association due to geographic alignment and community standards. They expected me to start paying DRSC $150 a month. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my coffee. Then I ripped the letter in half and tossed it in the burn barrel. But the next day, Karen herself marched up my driveway in heels, huffing in the heat, holding a binder full of papers. "You can't just ignore this," she snapped. Board voted. "Your property is now part of Oakwood Hills." "Lady, this is farm country. I've got goats in my backyard and mud on my boots. You can't just vote to take my land into your club." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "If you refuse, we'll escalate this. We always get compliance." The arrogance in her tone sent a shiver down my spine. Still, I held my ground. Harassment began subtly. HOA members parked their SUVs across my driveway entrance, accidentally blocking my tractors from getting to the fields. Someone reported my barn as an unsafe structure, forcing a county inspector to waste his time driving out. Even my mail went missing. Then came the pool incident. I had installed a modest pool behind my farmhouse. Fenced in, up to code, paid for in full. It was my little oasis after long hours of work. But apparently, Karen and her committee thought it clashed with neighborhood standards. One evening, as I was floating on my back under the stars, I heard shouting from beyond. My fence. Karen's voice cut through the night. "That pool is not HOA approved." "You'll be fined." I ignored her, dunking underwater. When I surfaced, I heard the words that made my blood run cold. "Call the police. He's violating HOA regulations." The next morning, 2 sheriff's deputies pulled up. I recognized them good men from the county office. One of them, Deputy Hayes, shook his head before even stepping out of the cruiser. "Morning, John," he said. "We got a call from, well, the HOA folks across the road. They're claiming you've got an unpermitted pool." I laughed bitterly. "Unpermitted? Hayes, you were the one who signed off on my pool inspection 6 months ago." He grinned. "Exactly. This is bogus." But they wouldn't stop calling, so we had to check. Karen came storming out of nowhere, clutching a clipboard. "Officers, arrest him. He's refusing HOA compliance." The deputies exchanged looks. Hayes said flatly, "Ma'am, his property isn't in your HOA." Her face turned crimson. "Is now? We voted on it." The second deputy chuckled. "What? That's not how jurisdiction works." But Karen wasn't laughing. She pointed at me like a witch in a trial. "He's setting a dangerous example. If he doesn't comply, others won't either." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about money. This was about control. And she wasn't going to stop. Over the next month, the HOA declared war. They sent me dozens of fake fines in the mail, $200 for unsightly farming equipment, $500 for livestock odor, and even $100 for improper lawn length. My property value allegedly dropped because of their reports to the county zoning office. Realtors stopped returning my calls when I asked about selling part of my land. Word spread that I was non-compliant, like some kind of outlaw. Finally drove to the county clerk's office and demanded answers. The clerk, kindly woman named Denise, pulled my file and frowned. Well, this is odd. It looks like someone filed an amendment claiming your property was annexed into Oakwood Hills HOA. My stomach dropped. That's illegal. They forged that.
Oh.
Denise nodded grimly. Looks that way, but you might want to lawyer up. I hired a local attorney, a tough-as-nails woman named Marissa who'd grown up on a dairy farm. She didn't just understand the law. She understood people like Karen. The HOA can't just annex land without the owner's consent. She said firmly, this is a scare tactic. But if we play it right, we can make them pay for harassment. We filed a cease and desist, demanding that the HOA retract their fraudulent claim. Of course, Karen didn't back down. Instead, she doubled down, calling me an uncooperative nuisance in her HOA newsletter and rallying her members to take community action. One night, I caught two of them sneaking around my property with flashlights, snapping photos of my barn and pool. I confronted them with my shotgun in hand, not pointing, just visible. They bolted like scared rabbits. I knew. Then it was only a matter of time before Karen tried something drastic. That something came on a Saturday afternoon. I was grilling steaks on the porch when half a dozen SUVs rolled up and parked along my fence line. Out marched Karen and her loyalists, holding signs that read, HO rules apply to all. Note unsightly farms. Pool must go, they said. Up camp right outside my driveway, chanting like it was a protest rally. I called the sheriff's office. When deputies arrived, Karen ran up to them shrieking, this man is a danger to the community. He refuses to follow the law. Shut down his pool. Deputy Hayes sighed. Ma'am, once again, his farm isn't part of your HOA. But Karen wasn't listening. She tried to shove past him and march onto my land. That was the last straw. Hayes blocked her. Step back. Ma'am, or you'll be arrested for trespassing. Her face twisted in rage. You're all corrupt. You'll regret this. She and her followers finally stormed off, but I knew this fight wasn't over. Marissa wasted no time filing suit. We dragged the HOA into court for harassment, fraud, and attempted extortion. The evidence was overwhelming. Forged annexation, papers, bogus fines, harassment reports, even video footage of HOA members trespassing. Karen strutted into court like she owned the place. But when the judge's stern old man with zero tolerance for nonsense heard to explain how she thought she could annex a farm into her suburban association, she stammered. Well, we voted on it, she muttered. The judge leaned forward. You voted to commit fraud? To harass this man? To trespass on his property? Ma'am, this is not a sorority. This is the law. The verdict was swift. The HOA was ordered to pay damages for harassment. Karen herself was fined personally for filing fraudulent documents. When the gavel fell, I felt like I could finally breathe again. The HOA collapsed within months. Members quit in droves. Tired of Karen's obsession with control, the neighborhood that once sneered at my farm now waved politely when I drove by. Some even came by to buy fresh produce and apologize for ever siding with the HOA. As for Karen, rumor has it she moved out of Oakwood Hills after being forced to pay thousands in damages. Her house sat on the market for nearly a year. Me, I still have my farm. My cattle still graze. And every evening, I swim in my pool, my little slice of freedom. No one, not even the self-appointed queen of the HOA, can take it from me.